public interviews. Hi. You want to be interviewed? We asked the public in London their opinion on certain topics. Hi, what's your name?
Ellie.
What'd you say?
Ellie.
Ellie?
Yeah.
Do you have any social media you want to plug?
No, it's fine.
No?
Yeah.
So today's topic, her body, her choice, right? Do you sense women have the right not to be mothers if they don't want to? Should men have the right not to be fathers if they don't want to?
Yes. For example, I'm not sure how her body, her choice. What's the connection here? Because that's about abortion. Well, let's leave that aside. Women have the right to give up the child for adoption.
Yes.
And yes, men should absolutely have the same right to give up their child for adoption, because that would be really like for like when we talk about the rights. I don't think you can draw a parallel between abortion and men not being fathers, but certainly if you're talking about giving up the child for adoption or disavowing, then men should have the same right as women, and women do have that right.
Why don't you think it's comparable, abortion and child support?
Abortion is a different question. It's whether the woman has a right to abort the child or not. I mean, even if you might agree that a woman has a right not to have to physically support with her body. I mean, physically, obviously, everything we do is physically, but I mean, you might agree the woman doesn't need to physically give life to the child, and yet you would still think that the woman should have to feed a child if the child is born. And vice versa, you could think that the woman shouldn't be able to kill the child because it's a human being, and yet you could still support the right of the woman or the man to give up the child for adoption. So I don't think you can. I mean, you can be on one side of one argument and the other side the other argument, basically.
Are you pro-life?
Yes, I'd say broadly speaking, yes.
Okay. Do you think it should be illegal all of the time?
Probably the best argument could be made for when it was non-consensual to begin with.
Okay.
I think the best argument for abortion is that the famous argument that, you imagine you wake up, someone's done an operation and you've been hooked up to another person. It might be a Nobel Prize scientist, and your kidney is supporting him, and if you unplug yourself from him or her.
What percent of abortions do you think are in the case of rape or incest or grape YouTube?
I have no idea.
It's actually less than 1%.
Okay, fine. I'm saying broadly speaking, I'm pro-life because I think there is another life, and certainly there shouldn't be. I can hold this for you. I'm not going to run away with it if you want. I mean, it's easier. It's up to you. Okay. Certainly there shouldn't be an option of aborting just because. In the same way, the argument is often made, if you ever go in any forums, for example, certainly feminist forums, but even not necessarily feminist forums, you'd say fathers who don't want to support are called deadbeats and really maligned. And so, look, if you don't want to have a child, then either wear a condom or abstain, tie or not have the snip, all these things, all these arguments. And the same could be applied for women. If you don't, if you want to be certain that you're not going to become pregnant and have to support the child till it's born, the life, give support, life support to this child, then don't have sex.
And it's interesting because 40% of abortions, the woman has had 2 or more abortions, and it doesn't track if they have an abortion in the future. So only 60% of abortions are their first time, and it doesn't track what they're doing in the future. So it seems like it's becoming a form of contraception rather than a worst case scenario.
I'm not sure where you want. I mean, that wasn't a question there.
No, I was just telling you this stat. I was just wanting to get your reaction to it.
Okay, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'll take your stats at face value. I'll have to believe you because I haven't checked that. But even what you're saying, it's hardly a form of contraception. Generally speaking, you get the morning after pill. There are much easier ways of contraception even after the fact.
No, I'm saying it's being used as a form of contraception. Like rather than like when a lot of people think like it should be a last case resort. And right now we're seeing it being used as a form of contraception. And you can see that because 40% of women keep getting them over and over again. And that doesn't include women that have them in the future.
What do you mean a form of contraception? Why would they have an abortion? Why not just, for example, either be on the pill, use a condom or take the morning after pill. So
I agree, that's how it should be. But that's just not what they're doing. It's because it's legal and free.
yeah, but no, you're not getting what I'm saying. I'm saying it doesn't make sense that women are just using it because legal and free. So just using it, why not? Because it's much more difficult for the person. In order to have an abortion, usually we're talking about 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks even, and they've had to carry that they've had to be pregnant for 12 weeks already, which is more difficult, hard on the body. So it's hard to believe that it's as simplistic as you're putting it, that just using it as contraception. There must be something more to it, a reason why they're not aborting or using the morning after pill straight away, or what's happening, what's changing. But it's probably a bit more complex than.
I mean, I can't tell you why. I'm just telling you what the data says, right? So I don't know why they're not using contraception. But like it's self-reported, so they ask women how many abortions they've had before, and that's what they write down.
You were saying why. That's the thing. You were saying why. The data is that women are having multiple abortions, and your analysis was that it seemed, and then you added it seems that they're using it as a form of contraception.
Well, yeah, because that's literally what they're doing. If if they keep getting abortions over and over again, it's a form of contraception.
Well, yes, to a degree, but I'm saying it's probably a bit more complex. But
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I'd really have to think, and whatever I think would be just a theory and need to be backed up. I mean, like you could give a guess why something is the way it is, but often it's just my bias, your bias, all of our biases informing us why we make these analyses, but really should be backed by evidence. Say overall, I'm pro-life anyway, because. And it's often portrayed as you want to punish women for having sex, and it's not that at all. It's having sex carries the known risk of becoming pregnant. So if you engage in activity that you know might end up with you having to look after I mean, really, the real question is always, when does life begin? And that is also, I mean, I say personally I'm pro-life, but they're both sides of the argument.
Right.
So the one side of the argument is that it's pro-life, it's a human life. What then would you call it? I mean, aborting means killing. It's killing a baby, an unborn child. You leave it's going to grow.
And 95% of 95% of biologists would agree that it's life.
Yes, of course it's life.
Yeah.
But the question, that is the wrong question. The question isn't when does life begin. It's when personhood begins, i.e. human rights. When do we call it a person so we give it's entitled to all the rights and protections? And that's not clear cut, because there is no definitive answer. I mean, there's no knocker argument. You say it has to begin at conception, DNA, or whatever. There's no real reason. You can always argue different, whether it's heartbeat, whether it's birth, whether it's feeling. What's that? I forgot the word. When it feels. You know what I mean? When it can feel pain. Forgot the word.
Like brain activity?
Brain activity, or also I forgot the word. When it feels pain. It's the way people differentiate between insects and animals. They are not sentient.
Oh, sentient. Yeah.
So again, but so the real question is, when should personhood begin? As I said, there's no definitive. There's no science. Nobody can really answer that from any reason. It's all emotive. And there's one thing I wanted to ask you about. It just slipped my mind. Oh yeah. Let me ask you. Can I? Because
Go ahead.
IVF. What's your opinion in general?
Oh, I don't know enough about IVF to really have an opinion on it.
IVF, you get eggs fertilized in the laboratory, and then usually it might be 10, 12 eggs, and the most viable 1 or 2 would be then implanted into the woman. All the others are discarded. And I know some, and I've no idea whether you're Christian or not, or from where you're approaching it, but certainly I know some Christian groups are very opposed to IVF, because they claim that this is the ones that are discarded is really discarding life. It's akin to abortion. So all the 10 fertilized eggs that don't make it, that aren't implanted, are then discarded. So that's the same as aborting.
Yeah, I don't really have an opinion on it. No, I'm not with like a Christian organization or anything. I just have a YouTube channel.
Okay, what is that?
What?
What's your channel?
Oh, just Pearly Things.
Pearly Things.
Yeah, just pearly things. But thank you for sitting down. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.